Hello?
Hi, Scott. Are you able to come up right away?
Sure.
Okay, we're gonna put you before the other one then.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Let me hear it.
Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to switch 2 and 3. First six won't take long, so. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agenda as changed, switching 2 and 3 around.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Bill, seconded by Terry to approve the minutes and agenda as amended. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Bruce.
Yes. As you know, we completed the secondary road department equipment auction. It was a successful auction. I want to thank Winnebago County for hiring me to do that auction. Number 2, it all starts with the engineering department, and Scott, of course, puts that down onto Doug. Doug does a great job of coordinating with me, as in all the years at the beginning, to get this thing already into sale bill fashion. Settling up at the end, great to where I balance and he balances for the money, so we're all good there. Number 2, without Mark Johnson, you know, to spearhead this and have the eye for the detail of the painting and the cleaning, and you guys know all of this. I hope you guys go and tell Mark that we really appreciate what you do, and that needs to trickle down to, in my opinion, needs to trickle down to Neil and Aaron. Is it Aaron in the shop? Okay. And then it needs to trickle down to, there's a lot of counties that don't have these type of people on the staff. And you get guys like Jeff Thompson and you get Denny Tweeten. Those guys are capable of doing what they do, and you know what they do. And the detail part, but it all comes from Mark telling them, hey, I want this done, this done, this done. And I know what detail is because Mike's seen a couple of my projects that I've just done. And I know all the time and effort and energy it takes to do this. But there's other guys there that do the same. It wasn't fun. They're out there in the snowstorm, well, not during the storm, but with those bridge plank that it snowed and to get all the count and icy and moving around. Plus they were out on the road trying to clean snow at the time. But I think they need a really good thank you personally from you guys to hopefully it trickles down to all those guys because they all step up to the plate every 3 years. And they do what they do. They're doing their job. They're supposed to do this, but I'm impressed. Those guys do a really, really good job for our county. And I hope they get some type of notification that from the top that they're well appreciated. All the staff down there through the secondary road department, whatever. So with that, I'll leave it and I'm done. And thank you for having me. And when I look back, I think Doug said 17 sales. About every 3 years I get to do one. There ain't going to be many more that I get to do. I'm getting too old. I don't know who's going to step up and do this really stuff, but pretty soon, next go around, I'll be well in the 70s. You know, I'm getting close to your age.
Stop and you ain't going to catch me.
But anyway, the bottom line is, in all sincerity, thank the county for letting me do this, but it all goes back to the engineer's office and trickles on down to what a good group of guys we have. I had to single out a few guys. I don't mean to leave anybody out, but all of them. Let's include all of them. They did a good job. And without them, this stuff wouldn't sell like it does. It will not. It will not bring what it does. People can't believe that. Why does Winnebago County get such good prices on their stuff? Yeah, you get some that are a little low and some that are a little high, but it all works out. But there again, thank you.
Well, thank you for your remarks.
Huh?
Thank you for your remarks.
Yep, and hopefully that gets down, like I
Thank you for your
said.
help on it too.
Huh?
I was there and I thought it went very well.
Yep, thanks, Terry. Okay, we'll see you.
Thank you. Scott.
Good morning.
We did.
Yes, of course, you know, we had a pretty good snowstorm over the weekend, and guys fought hard. They did a really good job, and as always, I got compliments from the public as to what our roads looked like compared to the others. We do really, you know, need to receive that, appreciate. That's right.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
a big gig goes on beyond taking care of the equipment.
Yeah. That's all I got other than what's on the agenda.
Well, too bad there wasn't something controversial after that. Okay. You guys got anything?
I don't have anything.
There you go.
Very good. We'll move on to Gary. E18.
Okay, they replaced that tile east of Scarville, 18 lateral 1. And I farmed that for 25 years, and now the son's farm it, of course. But when they put the new pipe in, the drainage has disappeared from our side of the fence. So it just, in my opinion, I think they should have put perforated tile in there.
We've been through this. Yes.
I understand that, but here's my solution. And I think this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna have to do it on our own probably, because I've cleaned that ditch before on the other end where the tile dumps in. I've done that on my own. I did that a long time ago. Actually, I cleaned it twice. I think we gotta put tile on both sides of that main, so we don't disrupt the main, but it's gonna take care of that water that's coming down from the hills under, which normally would go into that drain. That's my solution. And it's an easy, fast fix. Nothing major, just put a couple, 1.5 on one side and a 5 on the other side, drain it right back down to the ditch. That's farmer talk. Not a drainage expert, but I think that works. I think it will work. Just, that's what I was trying to get to. I just said, really? Mark couldn't come? He works for the county, you know. So I said, I'll come down here and talk to you guys. I think that would be a viable way to do it and cheap. Go. I don't think 5-inch tile is probably maybe 60 cents a foot.
How many feet we talking about?
Pardon me?
How many feet are we talking about?
Oh, probably a couple thousand on each side or so to go from that stub ditch up into the fence line. And I don't know what their Andersons want to do on the other side. Have they talked to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is their conclusion?
He wants to replace the perforated.
Oh.
He wants it fixed.
He wants it fixed.
Okay, I can't talk for Zona, you know, I'm just here to represent our family. But that would be my conclusion. It'd be
I would
fast
say
and
doing
easy.
this would not be an improvement, because we're not,
No.
the outlet's not any bigger, so,
No, we just dump right in alongside
I mean,
where it dumps
I
in.
think we can consider it a repair because it has to solve the problem.
Okay. So what does that mean? No, I don't know what that means.
Well, there's difference between improvement and a repair. An improvement, you're actually expanding the capacity of the line
Okay,
itself.
yep.
And then you get into those FSA guidelines where you have to go through all this stuff.
For wetlands and whatever, you mean?
There are some wetlands there we dealt with that we'll have to work around too, because we had to put solid tile through that one section.
Oh, is that, you mean
Closer to the start
Anderson's, you mean? Over there on, okay,
But
A
that
big
can't be
slough
done.
hole right side of the road.
yep.
So that has to stay non-perf, but, I don't know.
So you think you guys can do that? I mean, are you considering that?
I've talked with the other people in the district.
Okay.
And they've made it known that this was fixed. They don't want to pay anymore. So I have in the past made a proposal, and it probably is not going to happen now for a few years maybe, but here's the trouble with the drainage law. The farmer can't sue the trustees. And that's, in my opinion, sad. We made a mistake. I made a mistake. You know?
No, but I don't care about that. We just gotta try to fix it,
Okay.
improve it.
Yeah.
And I think the 2 5-inchers take the pressure off on our side, you know.
You're proposing that the drainage district pay for it?
Well, I don't care, I can pay for it. I'll do it just to help the guys out, you know. It's just a pain in the ass. It cut that field right in half, you
And
know.
the other people don't want it to cost them anything, for
I got-
a good reason, I guess, but, my thought is if there was a mistake made, why should you even have to pay for it? You know,
I know how finances go, and if the money isn't there, it isn't there, and I know people don't like to put up more money they've already put in.
But in the long run, if there was, a parallel on each side, 5-inch, this would be one of the best tile systems you can have because it protects the main.
Yeah.
yeah, the non-perf, as
That
far
was
as
just
the
my-
integrity of the main is.
They didn't take care of that
Just
water on
lost all
that
the
end.
drainage that you used to have with it.
Yeah, we used to have a little drainage, you know, it wasn't very big, but now it's gotten bigger. I don't go over there very
You're
often.
talking about, with a tile pile probably,
Oh, yeah.
so it wouldn't take
Just-
much to put it in.
You know, you could probably put it in 3-4 hours, both sides. So that's my suggestion. I don't know whether you gotta have any, ruling on that stuff or whatever. Just do it and worry about it with the other people later.
Would you talk with Gordy to see if there's something that can be done with his too while you're out there? And
Well, I can't talk for Zona though.
No,
Yeah, see, that's my problem. I'm just,
just tell him what you're doing
yeah, oh yeah.
and hopefully we can work maybe some cost sharing out. I'm just bringing up,
It's tough.
yeah,
You know, it's not a very big district,
no,
you know, there aren't very many acres in there.
yeah,
Well, that's my suggestion, and quite frankly, I haven't talked to Gordy, but I'll do that. Or the boys will, and we'll take a different approach and just to prove what's there. Let the tube run, you know? That's what it is, a conduit now. It's not a tile, it's just a conduit, so. That's all I got, guys.
What do you think about cost share of the district pays for the tile and the landowners pay for the installation?
I think that.
Because then it's still those 2 5 would be the responsibility of the district going forward.
You guys just do what you can do, but it's gonna happen. No matter what.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's the only way it can work.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys.
I'll, wait till you get back after you talk to Gordy or your boys talk to her. Would you call me after that? And then-
Sure.
Okay,
Yep, not a problem.
sounds good.
You bet.
Thank you.
Yep.
And you're welcome to stick around, but you really don't.
Oh, I'm gonna. I haven't had anything to do at my advanced age. Jesus. People don't want me to go where I'm going.
All right, Scott.
Yep, so I have a resolution for the purchase of a maintainer that we talked about last week.
Get resolutions for,
Your approval. Again, this maintainer will be funded from our auction proceeds, from our remaining budget, and from a small amount of FY17 carryover balance.
Since we've talked about it before, I'll entertain a motion to approve this.
Make a motion to approve the resolution for the purchase of a maintainer for secondary roads.
I'll second it. Motion by Terry, seconded by Bill, to approve the resolution for the purchase of maintainer for secondary roads. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Take your signature and Charles on both of those.
Carla. Happy Chris.
I don't have anything. I'm just working on what's current.
I had one question on the claims, DD 1 claims from Larson Contracting.
Okay.
Was some of the first work they did, was that DD 12, is it, by Thompson?
That's been taken care of by DD 12.
Okay, so.
Yeah, that's billed separately.
I just didn't want to.
Nope.
I just want to make sure that
Yep.
DD 1 didn't get billed for that.
Nope, that's billed separate.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Bill?
On Gary Helgeson and that, was it D3?
Mm-hmm.
The reason he said that the part of it was higher was because on the upper end of lat 7, I believe, it was, there was a lot more material there. There was almost wasn't a ditch, there was so much stuff in it.
So they had to take out a lot more.
That's why his price per foot went up.
Okay.
On that part of it is because there was much more material that was moved from the ditch.
Gotcha. It hadn't been cleaned in a number of years.
No, it was, it looked like a overgrown grass waterway.
Yeah. So that's
why that
yeah.
cost per foot went up on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is that just DD 311 or is that a lateral?
Lat 5 and lat 7.
Thank you.
Waste management.
I got a proposal from them. They are still sticking with that 1,260 number, and I don't believe that that's accurate, so I just want to show it to you. I want to go with what they gave me as a list last time, and that's about 860. So.
Thank you.
And this is just their proposal. They will come down, but at least if we started thinking about it.
So where are we at we're at the 487?
I didn't even keep a copy for myself, so I'm sorry.
Well, 18 says 42, 480.
Yeah, so that's where we're at right now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my first inclination is I don't know if I want to do this.
Right.
I think what they pulled with not renewing the tipping fees contract, they keep going up in price. I don't think we can afford to be providing that service at that cost.
I saw there was an outfit out of Osage, Red something or other. Don't know if that's worth looking into. They're close. If they would want to consider it.
Well, the other thing we talked about was getting together with some other counties that are unhappy with waste management also, and maybe form a 28E agreement to maybe utilize the drops, a site maybe at Worth County or something, and develop a better system.
That's pretty far though for the people.
No, not just a drop. I mean, that would be the central location
Oh,
for all
I
the
see.
counties. Because right now, what is it? I think everybody takes it in Cassuth County, they take it to the landfill, and then Waste Management picks it up there, charges them a lot of money. Same with over at Worth County, they drop it off at their recycling building, and they get charged a lot just for that. And then I think Hancock County has several drop locations, and it costs them a lot. So, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think this is working for us.
I'm of the opinion that there should just maybe be a couple drops at the most. Did they say what kind of usage? There might be 12, they might claim there's 1,260 houses, but I don't use it, so I mean, do they say how many they pick up?
No, they send me a report every month with the tonnage that they have picked up, but it's just a grand total.
The verdict, from what I read, is still out whether it's cost effective to do this. I mean, even as a whole,
Well, I remember this conversation we had with them when we signed the first contract with them on these 96-gallon totes. Well, they got to pay for the totes. It's going to cost this much. I thought it'd go down.
Right.
They've already paid for the totes.
We've already paid for it. Yes.
And I think that was the intent, I mean, at that point, that was the intention, that
That was
after the totes were paid for, that it would go down.
They kept going up.
And now they take, like you said, they've taken the tipping fees too, so,
Seems like the first year was 30, 32, somewhere in there. Seems like it was 30,000 or 32,000, something like that.
And then he was telling me something
This.
about China, that they're not taking recycling anymore, so that's costing everyone as far as recycling, because America is having to do it themselves and figure it out themselves. So,
Say that again?
China evidently takes some of our waste, and they're not going to anymore.
So their
They're doing their
profits
own
aren't
thing.
what they used to be.
Right, so,
Well, I think we need to look at maybe a couple drop sites at the most.
Russia's involved too.
Well, you know, I guess the business model I'm looking at is over in Winnebago County. They won an award from the state of Iowa for what they did with the city of Decorah. The county and the city coordinated, and they've gone really green, and they're actually either neutral or making money at it.
okay.
So to me, that's what I'd be shooting for, something that doesn't cost us anything.
So what do we need to do, instead of just talking about it, what action do we need
I
to do?
think we're gonna have to get together with other counties to talk, because you gotta make it cost effective, you know? You're
Right.
gonna have certain equipment you have to buy to do this. I mean, you just some dumpsters and some trucks to move it, and there's gonna be some infrastructure that has to be done, but if you do multiple counties together,
So, are you going to do that?
I guess it's up to
Well,
you.
We can put a feeler out there to the other counties to see if they even want to talk about it.
Right, but somebody has to do that.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, so that's all I'm wanting to do is a step forward, what are we gonna do? Somebody has to have a plan.
How far along are you in the process?
Well, I think we need to get information from Winnebago County to, you know, how they did it, before we can even explain it to the other counties. Are you willing to talk to Winnebago and get some numbers from them, or what they're,
I can call Ben.
okay? Because, you know, yeah, we
discussed this before, haven't we?
what?
We've discussed this before.
We discussed that we should go this route,
Yeah.
but we've never
Never
stepped
actually
forward.
got.
And I don't think we can have that, you know, genuine conversation with any other county until we have a possible plan.
Yeah.
And I don't know where they are with their contracts with waste management, you know, it may be a staggered thing. But I think we have to come up with some kind of a start.
Oh, exactly, yeah. So Carla, you're going to talk to
I will
the
call
auditor?
Ben
Okay.
at Winnebago about recycling program.
I think we should terminate the contract myself, right now.
But I think we should have a plan for what
I
we're
think
gonna do
we should
instead.
have them offer what's it gonna cost us for a couple of drop sites.
Mhm. And he suggested that, you know, and I said we talked about it before, we want more information, and I can ask him for that.
Because then at least we have a comparable. So you'll ask him for that.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind with those drop sites that there's a little bit of a cost to clean up and all the trash, and if there's anything dropped there that we don't want there, then we gotta take care of that too.
And Worth County has gone through that. They eliminated drop sites because of sofas and tires.
Buffalo Center had 2 trash dumpsters for people who missed their trash pickup, and then they had a behind excuse me. People are abusing that like you can't believe, sofas and TVs and computer screens and all kinds of stuff that end up there. So they got rid of them. So now I have to save my garbage until next week if I miss it.
Okay, so you'll talk to Ben and you'll.
Yep, yep.
Very good.
Awesome.
Once we get some information together and we decide that it's time to talk to the other counties, then I'll be willing to talk to the other counties.
Sounds good. I just didn't want to stall it
Because I've
anymore.
already talked to
Yeah.
at least 4 counties,
Have you? Good.
at least one member on each county, so. And everybody was interested in discussing.
Good.
Whether it's consensus across the board or not.
Okay, consider approval of sheriff quarterly report.
I'll make a motion to approve the sheriff's quarterly report.
I'll second. Motion by Terry, seconded by Bill to approve the sheriff's quarterly report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Monthly claims.
There's a lot of this.
No question, I got this answered by Chris.
We done?
Beaver tails.
Yep, he brought him in Friday at 4:25. Sure did.
You can tell how appreciative his office is of that.
What? No.
It was not my fault this time. You cannot.
Nope. Nope.
Having it.
But if you want, I can run.
No, we're not.
Appreciate.
Just nine of
Still
them.
not.
No.
I've had that with you.
Motion to approve the settlement of claims.
I'll second.
I think so.
William.
You're welcome.
Seconded by Terry
Getting
to.
some traction on the YouTube stuff. I had some people come up.
Oh, really?
Willie lives on.
Willie lives on, yes. To approve the semi-monthly county claims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I missed to make the motion.
Bill.
Bill.
William.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license for Isaac Walton Rice Lake.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by myself, seconded by Terry to approve the liquor license for Isaac Walton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We just stamp that.
Yes, please.
Approved?
Yep.
Consider approval of public purpose for public health, resolutions for public health.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution for public purpose of the public health plaques.
I'll second. Motion by Terry, seconded by Bill to approve the public purpose resolution for public health. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Open forum.
I have something, but I'll wait for after
Okay,
this done.
These don't need to be.
all right, we will
Just continue.
go on to
Are we
Elizabeth
gonna,
Dyer.
are we in open forum, or are we waiting till?
We're gonna, she wanted, Chris wanted to wait.
It's 9:30.
Yeah.
Good morning. I guess first of all, do you have any specific questions or concerns, or do you just want me to do the normal overview of the audit for the fiscal year?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the first place we'll stop then is on page 2, the independent auditor's report. The independent auditor's report describes the management and auditor responsibility in regards to the audit. It explains the purpose of an audit is to opine on whether or not the financial statements are fairly presented. The purpose of an audit has nothing to do with finding fraud or finding errors or irregularities. It's based on tests and samples, and the purpose is to opine on whether or not the financial statements are fairly presented. So we have issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 17, which means it's a clean opinion. That's what you want to hear. So we did find some material adjustments that needed to be made during the course of the audit. Adjusting journal entries were proposed and made so that the financial statements contained in this report are fairly presented.
When you say it's not a report to look for fraud, can you explain that a little bit more?
The auditing standards define what an audit is. And an audit is designed to determine whether or not the financial statements are fairly presented, meaning there's no material misstatements. So as part of the audit, we calculate a materiality level for each of the major funds, and then also for the government-wide statements as a whole. And then that's kind of our materiality threshold. So if we find items that are above those materiality thresholds, then we ask to propose a journal entry to go ahead and correct that. But the purpose of an audit doesn't have anything to do with fraud, doesn't have anything to do with errors or irregularities. And because an audit's based on tests and samples, we're not looking at all of the transactions that go through the county during a year. So, if we find something that looks questionable, we definitely investigate and bring it to attention. And, if we do find something that is irregular, it's the procedure that we contact the state auditor's office and they direct us on how to proceed. But the actual purpose of an audit is to opine on whether or not the financial statements are fair.
So how would you propose that we avoid something like that happened in Lake Mills with the school, where it eventually was caught, but it had gone on for, I think, 3 years? Don't hold me to that.
Good internal control, good segregation of duties, cross-training employees, supervisors looking at claims, supervisors looking at receipts. Cross-training is a big thing, and having employees take vacations and have somebody else do those procedures or those duties while they're on vacation, because that is a lot of times how those frauds are they're discovered, because someone else is stepping into those shoes and they're doing that work for a week at a time, and they're able to uncover if they are doing anything inappropriate. So, is
there any time any entity is warranted to have a complete audit? That's what I call it.
You're talking about agreed upon procedures is what you want. That's the correct term, because an audit is determining if they're fairly presented. Agreed upon procedures is what the state auditor's office does if they have a concern, or if we were to find...
I don't have a concern. I want to make that known.
Okay, but if something had been reported, they call it agreed upon procedures, and what happens is we work with the state auditor's office and they determine if those are procedures they want the auditing firm to do, or if they're procedures that the state auditor's office wants to come in and do. And the state auditor's office makes that determination and directs us accordingly. And so when they do that, it's very specific, and the state auditor's office, along with the entity, will define the procedures to be involved. So if you wanted somebody to come in and look at every single transaction that transpired during a certain time period or in a certain department, that's, you would outline that in the engagement letter for that particular.
How far back can you go in a government situation?
Depends on the situation. Usually I believe the state auditor's office will go back maybe 3 or 5 years. Yeah. I guess I haven't seen any that have gone back further than that.
But it can start with you, right? If you found any irregularities.
Oh yeah, if we find.
So, yeah,
Yeah, if I find anything irregular going through the course of the audit, my first step that is required of us by the code, we are required to contact the state auditor's office, and then they direct us how to proceed.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so then starting on page 5, we have management's discussion and analysis, and that goes on through page 12, and this just gives some comparative information looking at fiscal 17 and fiscal 16. It also gives some additional information on the accounting policies and procedures used by the county. It gives some insight into the budget and to the economic factors that were considered when you were looking at the budget for the next fiscal year. The actual financial statements start on page 13. And again, we have 3 separate sets of financial statements. We have the full accrual set with a balance sheet and a statement of changes, which is very similar to what you would see in the private sector. It has the capital assets and the long-term debt included on it. So Exhibit A would be your statement of net position or your balance sheet. And then Exhibit B is your income statement. Now on Exhibit B, I do want to explain a couple of things. On Exhibit B, it shows that the change in net position for the county this year increased by $4.5 million. And I want to explain that because that's a big number, and it's a little confusing sometimes. There was a road project that was completed by the county that was reimbursed by farm to market funds. And so on page 16, you see this capital grants, contributions, and restricted interest column, and there's a $3 million number there. Part of that is a contribution from the Department of Transportation because they were reimbursing the county for the work that had been done on that road. Also, when projects strictly go through the FM account at the DOT, what happens is when those projects are completed, they are included on the list of capital assets for the county. So they're brought into the financial reporting process at that point. And since the county does not have an expenditure to match up with that because it flowed through the farm to market fund, that also shows as capital grants, contributions, and restricted interest because it flowed through and the Department of Transportation ultimately paid for that road or that project through the FM account, but that asset is shown on the county's financial statement. So that's what that $3 million is, and that's attributable to the majority of that $4.5 million increase in net position is those projects that are shown as revenues. Okay, on page 17 and 18, we start the modified accrual financial statements. And these are similar to the GAAP report, or this is the GAAP report that Carla submits to the Department of Management in December. It does not include any capital assets or long-term liabilities. It's just the 60-day accrual process. So we have the balance sheet that goes through page 20, and then we also have the modified accrual basis statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes. It's on 22 and 23. And continues on 24 and 25. And then Exhibit D and F step you through on how to get from modified accrual to full accrual. It shows how we add in the assets, the capital assets, how we adjust for the liabilities, so then it steps you through how you get from one statement to the next. On page 28, 29, and 30, which are Exhibit G, H, and I, we have the statement of net position for the proprietary fund, the statement of revenues and changes, and the cash flows, and that is your health insurance fund. And on page 29, there is net income of $33,000 this year, and this is something I've discussed with a lot of boards of supervisors this year because the cost of health insurance has been fluctuating and increasing, and that seems to be a continuing challenge to be able to provide good health insurance for your employees at a reasonable cost and really watching that fund balance. So seeing that have a slight increase, that's a job well done for this fiscal year because I have several counties that did not fare so well. Okay, on page 32, we start the notes to the financial statements, and I'm going to skip over quite a few of these. They just give information on your accounting policies and procedures. It explains your capital assets and your debt in a little more detail, gives amortization schedules for the debt. It gives the actuary information for the net pension liability. There's about 4 or 5 pages of that is provided by the actuary that does the audit for IFRS that we're required to include in our report. There is one footnote that I would like to take a look at. It's on page 54. And it is new this year, and it's in regards to the TIF and the tax abatements. The county was required to implement GASB statement number 77 for this fiscal year. It does not affect the numbers on the financial statements at all. It's just a disclosure statement, but it's meant to show the effect of having the TIF in the county. Not just the county TIF, but any of your cities that also participate in a TIF program. This is just a disclosure. It talks about what tax abatements are out there. And on page 55, you can see what the amount of property tax that was diverted from Winnebago County by the City of Buffalo Center, the City of Forest City, and the City of Lake Mills. The Department of Management was instrumental in implementing this. Ted Nellison had gone ahead and developed a spreadsheet for all of the counties and cities to use that are participating in TIF, and then they go ahead and they input their information, and then there was a letter that was generated to go out to all the affected entities. And Winnebago County received letters from these 3 entities where they had calculated how much property tax or how much TIF was diverted from the county, so that we're able to include those numbers in our report. But this is something that was implemented for counties and schools and cities for this fiscal year. So everyone that is affected by TIF is actually able to see how much property tax was actually diverted.
Will something like this be available on like the Department of Management website so you can compare counties and cities?
Yep, and then also all of these audit reports are available on the State Auditor's Office website, so you're able to go in and see all that information.
So that'll include the TIF, school TIFs?
Yep. So all the school district reports will have a comment or a footnote that looks just like this, and you'll be able to see all of that. Okay, on page 57 is our third set of financials, and because the county budgets on the cash basis, we show a budget to actual cash basis as part of the financial statements. And so you can see where we have the original budget and then the final amended budget. The column that's entitled less funds not required to be budgeted, that is your drainage, because drainage is not required to be included on your budget or your cash basis annual report. So it's included in that particular column. And there really aren't any red flags on this. There was, the capital projects function was overexpended during the fiscal year, but that was the only over expenditure. Following that, and there's some more information on the budgetary required supplemental information. There's also some more schedules in regards to the net pension liability for IPERS. And again, those numbers are provided to us by IPERS in the State Auditor's Office when they perform their audit there. Page 64 starts
What page is that on?
For the pension.
Yeah.
The pension, there's several of them. The pension, page 60 is the schedule of the county's proportionate share of the net pension liability. And then page 61 shows the contributions that the county has made to IPERS for the last several years. And then there's...
What kind of unfunded liability do we carry there? Where does that show up?
It's a little over $3 million. But again, IPERS is 81.82% funded. So the chances of ever having that realized are slim.
You never know.
You never know. Okay, page 64 starts the non-major governmental funds, and all of these funds are aggregated and presented together as non-major funds in the beginning of the report. These schedules just go ahead and show the detail of the balance sheet, and then also the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes, which is on 68 and 69. We also have detail on Schedule 3 and 4 for the fiduciary funds, where the county acts as the fiscal agent for like your schools and your community colleges and your corps and your townships, where you're collecting the tax and then going ahead and remitting it to those respective entities. On page 78, we have some more Gardner-Thompson letterhead, and that is our report on internal control. And again, this just explains that the audit is based on tests and samples, and as part of the audit, we do go ahead and assess internal control. We look through the segregation of duties. We talk about this with the department heads, trying to make sure that we're getting duties segregated as much as possible. Again, emphasizing cross-training employees and being able to have somebody else step into those shoes if someone has to be gone for any length of time. And then the findings start on page 80. And the first finding is our old friend segregation of duties, which you're always going to have because you don't have enough people in each office to entirely segregate the duties. So again, we just ask that those are reviewed and make sure that duties are segregated as much as possible. The second finding is in regards to financial reporting. We had material amounts of receipts, accounts receivable, accounts payable, and capital assets that we found during our test work that had not been reported properly. So again, proposed adjusting journal entries were made so that the financial statements presented are fairly presented. And on page 81, the third finding related to internal control is preparation of full disclosure financial statements. And because you don't have CPA on staff to be able to prepare the GAAP report and the full accrual financial statements along with all of the related disclosures, I'm required to put that in. But again, that's a comment that's in almost every audit report that we issue. On page 82, we start the statutory findings. And this year, the disbursements exceeded the amount budgeted in the capital projects function. And then also we had a couple of departments that were overexpended during the year. So we have a comment about that. We also have a business transactions comment number 4. The code defines the potential conflict of interest at $1,500. And then there are ways that you can go ahead and proceed with related party transactions, like if you enter into competitive bidding or if the related party is not participating in the acquisition of the services. And that was the case for all of these. They were properly entered into, so there's no finding associated with this. It's just a disclosure. The next finding that we have is on page 83, and that's in regards to the County Extension Office. And they're required to publish their annual report prior to August 1st. The code requires that, and that did not happen for this fiscal year. So we have a comment in there about that. On page 84, we have a comment about the Sheriff's Office. The trust account and the general account weren't balanced at the end of the fiscal year. So we've talked to Dave about that. Number 12, the annual urban renewal report is due to the Department of Management on or before December 1st, and it had not been received by the Department of Management within the time period allowed. And then also Code of Ordinances. The Board of Supervisors is...
What do you mean by the levy authority does not agree with the amounts reported on general levy?
Right. What happens with it, this is all TIF related. And this is all supposed to flow through. And what's supposed to happen is the amount on the urban renewal report that gets reported to the Department of Management is supposed to reflect what happened on the general ledger. And there was just a couple of discrepancies, and Carla has it fixed for this next fiscal year. It also reports all of the debt outstanding too. And so, you know, I think there was a couple issues with all of the refunding and refinancing out there. There was a little bit of confusion, making sure that that all got on there. But we should be okay moving forward. And number 14, the Board of Supervisors hasn't compiled a Code of Ordinances. The code requires that this is done every 5 years, and it has been past that. So I think Carla had that on the agenda. I think you were even, is that been done?
Been done.
I say, I think you took care of that right after we were here. So that one will be resolved for next year. And then also on page 85, we have a financial position finding because the Capital Projects Public Safety Center Fund had a deficit balance at June 30. So therefore, I'm required to put a comment in about that also. Timing difference. So, yeah.
Working with federal government is a challenge.
Yes, it is. It is.
Their timing doesn't coincide with others.
Any other questions or concerns?
Going back to the unfunded liability, is there a place where you can go to find out, say the market drops, you say that the unfunded portion drops to 70%, and what that would do to our financial position?
That's an IPERS question, and they can
That's
tell you.
Okay.
Yep, if you call down there, they will be able to tell you.
Okay.
So we just present what we are given from IPERS and from the state auditor's office. They go in and they've got their actuaries that do what they need to do for us and provide us the information that we're required to present. But if you call down to IPERS, I'm sure they can help you with that one.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, any other questions or concerns? Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Back to open forum if everybody has anything.
Yeah, I have a claim for County Social Services for their third request. and I was told not to pay it. And I'm wondering when we're gonna pay this or what we're gonna do. I'm looking at Bill because you're on the committee.
We're protesting.
So that's fine. So,
Well, I tried calling Roger. They have themselves, I don't know if there's the whole board of them that have themselves put on the agenda for next week's meeting, see it says. And just questions I would ask him.
Do you think just hold off a couple till the next cycle? You probably have better answers.
That all depends on what's gonna happen down with the legislation down there. I mean, if we get a favorable resolution down there, see, if you leave a region, you can take your fund balance with you. And if we're gonna leave, why would we want to give it to them first?
So, what we levied for this year and what they're asking for are two different things.
Yes.
See, that's where I really have a problem with it.
right. It's just, it says it's due by May 21st. So I just wanted to make sure that we're staying on top of it if we're gonna pay it.
It's kind of like going to another country and you're bartering with them and you ask them how much is it and they say, how much do you have? That's the way it feels.
Well, because they're trying to get that gap balance down. And so they have their requested levy, and then they're trying to work on that gap balance.
What they want is they want what we levied plus half of our fund balance.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And Cassup County has already not paid it. They paid their levy amount, but they did not give any of their fund balance.
And that's what I'm concerned about. If we are going with another region, why would we pay that extra fund balance?
And the ramifications if we don't, you know?
Well, we have 45 days before I'll have my voting rights suspended, and then with our people will lose. See, Cassup County has already been past 45 days quite a bit, and they have lost services to their people. But they think that they can provide the services for their people cheaper, even though they've already given money to county social services. They've paid 2/3 of or whatever what is owed for the year or whatever. But Rogers lost his voting rights, and their people in Interior are not getting services. Even though they may be getting services, I have not heard. But
Are you up to speed on this?
I'm not,
Okay.
but I can look into it.
We have a 22 county region that we're
you
struggling.
Right.
you might want to call Cassup County's attorney, and he can fill you in on it. We have a couple of days. I was hoping that Roger would get back to me.
Okay.
Well, if we have May 21st?
May 21st, so we're still good.
And then we even got 45 days after that before I'm putting the naughty house. So.
Well, but
we'll know more about
we'll want it done by June 30. That's not 45 days out, but.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Um,
Just so we don't forget about it.
no, it's not been 3 hours.
Supposedly there was a subcommittee meeting this morning that Wayland Brown put together for the possibility of having it.
I've talked to Roger already, and then after I talked to him, it came that they wanted to have an audience before the CSS board, so I don't know what's changed, whether they.
So to leave the CSS, they would have to change legislation?
They can go
First?
They can go to another region, but they can't be a part of a new region without legislation change.
Gotcha. Okay. So we cannot go to a different region because we're not connected to another one?
We can.
We would have to take Hancock or somebody with us, or Cassup, and then we connect so you have a common border.
Yeah.
But if you take a number of counties with you to another region, then you're creating another large region.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just gotten too big.
And I guess Foxhoven was supposed to be at that subcommittee meeting this morning.
Oh, is he?
You should.
Or, no,
Yeah, we had,
Marlon and I.
I should have contacted you. It was
Yeah,
our board meeting day and I didn't feel it.
oh, and Chris, as far as that goes.
So I don't know if they went or not. We'll find out.
Okay,
That's all I had.
already.
We'll let you know.
Okay, thanks.
I would like to, while we're in open forum, would like to stress the importance of all county employees and citizens of Winnebago County to contact Senator Good, Representative Gassman, and Governor Reynolds regarding fully funding the backfill for the commercial and industrial rollbacks. Thank you very much.
Well said.
Can I quote you on that one?
You've been practicing.
I have.
You can check your recordings from past weeks and see if there's any differences.
Is that,
Gotta see it, the inflection may change.
do you know any progress on that?
Actually, Ted said that the budget that they were given the last week did not have the money from the rollbacks taken out, or it was in there.
Because it wasn't gonna start, was it? Or was it gonna start right away?
Well, it was supposed to start in 18, so the budget for
Yeah, well, it
19,
was.
Budget
it
for
was
19
intact.
was shrinking down by a
So-
third or something.
Yeah, Ted called me all excited, so it was, hopefully, we're getting someplace.
Cross your fingers.
As long as the state knows that they're gonna have to help us, they get the lower taxes, we'll get to raise them, so they'll help us with public relations on that.
Yeah. Mhm.
I think they know, I really think they know. Because somebody over that way has been getting a lot of heat. So she's having to deal with it. A lot of heat.
Is that right?
Well, good.
And I've driven Ted
We
about
should keep
that
doing snow.
crazy, so.
This global warming is just a pain in the tail.
You know, Al Gore's not getting back to me. I want him to explain this to me one more time.
All right, payroll claims.
Step by.
AJ, is there more in the series of Winnebago coming, or the historical?
Yeah.
Is there, okay. 'Cause I noticed they were into the 60s, mid-60s.
Yeah.
There's more.
Yeah, we got, he's coming in to record. I think he's coming in to record on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. I could look on my phone, but I think he's supposed to be there.
So is that played what, Thursday and Saturday then, or?
It's just Saturdays. He comes in and records on Thursdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays, and then Riley we air it like on Saturdays in place of coaches' shows and things.
So they can do those.
Well, Gassman should be kind of excited. He put out that newsletter where he said he's trying to get amendments to push it back to 2020 and further back, and he's actually getting traction.
I know, I'm very proud of him.
I was surprised. I saw there were some people who have already come out and said in several newspapers that the public is having its effect. They need to continue to have their effect if they can make this work. And it's actually working, because there are people who are in non-windmill areas who are kind of getting behind this as well too. I guess they see the extra tax revenue and say, no, we shouldn't cut that back.
Yes, it affects everybody.
Well, when you're like #1 in the country, why would you want to cut back?
Guessing we aren't gonna lose that either. We're still expecting expanding. Which is good. It's revenue.
Here's my quote. "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Margaret Mead.
That is so true. Yeah.
What do you stand?
Small band of men change the world, and it becomes the most powerful nation in the world. A small band of women get together, and now you have equal rights, for the most part.
Roger. Yeah. Oh, I just had a question.
I have done a voting thing with 7th graders for the civics class, and I always show them this video about voting, and it has that quote in it, and they probably don't care, but it gives me goosebumps every time I watch it.
Kids don't really, they change the world, but they don't necessarily realize that they're changing it. And then when they get to that point where they realize, man, we can change things, that's when it really gets exciting. So I get it, I understand. You know. Kind of cool.
But not all change is good.
No.
Take the hippies.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, look at the anti-gun movement. That's very scary too, I think.
News?
Well, yes and no. The real news is that, and him and I discussed this in the last phone call, if you look at the 2080 agreement, before they could be tossed out, they had to go through mediation. There was no mediation, so they're going to ask to be reinstated at the next, Rogers voting rights, and their people getting their care, because county social services skipped. So, I got a message that I told you about this, saying that we got to get this trust back. Well, you know, I mean, Bob has a vote where we can't see some information we want to see, so he makes it that the board has to vote on it before we can see our own public information. And then, in the end, he lets us see this public information, whether it was accurate or not is another thing, without going through a vote of the board.
See, I really think you should get the Attorney General involved, because they're pulling illegal stuff.
Oh, we're not even on the naughty list. I think the super will take care of that.
Oh,
They're up front.
They're already.
They're blocking for us.
Yeah, no, it's, it used to be the WHW was, name was Mud.
Now it's the big K.
Yeah, no, we've been blown out of the water.
How dare that county do that to us?
Now, did you see the total amount in her report for county social services for the year? It was $500 and some thousand, wasn't it?
Probably.
And I guarantee you we're not treating $500 and some thousand worth of our own people. And Cassup is even much more misrepresented. Our worth is worse off than we are.
How can you have 187 people cost $500,000? Is that what you're saying?
Is that how many people we have in the system?
That's the report we got from Bob that I gave you, and I gave Mike and Terry.
Yeah. But,
how can that cost $500,000?
Wow.
What about the city? I mean, they're
Something like that.
We had 2 people in the system. Well, I mean, there's probably more than that.
yeah, that is high. That's almost 2,700 a person, and it's pretty high.
What are you?
No, it should be more than that.
How much Ridland?
500,000 divided by 187.
It's
that what it comes out to?
187 is for how big an area?
You're talking about the county, and all those are various treatments, so.
Is that WHW or just Winnebago?
Just Winnebago.
All right, so
But is that
187
each
people.
treatment multiple times to the same person?
That is a Sandy question. But
Well, usually-
Sandy was even a little surprised at the number I came up with that Bob forwarded.
Because the report we got from Sandy, the last meeting we had here.
Near that, no.
That's my point, there's an irregularity.
Well,
I think
see,
he's
that's
taking
the whole
same
thing.
person treated 5 times is 5.
It's,
See, the numbers don't add up. Even if you were to take that by 5, you're still looking at, what, $400 or $500 per visit? I mean, how much, no disrespect intended, but how much Ritalin are you passing out?
Well, if a person goes to, what's the one in West Campus there, the AA place,
Yeah.
alcohol.
Yeah.
Very rich.
Very Ridge.
Very rich.
Otis went there for a mental evaluation, and his portion of it was $230, so I don't know what they charge Medicaid, so
yeah. Well, it's not cheap.
But the thing is, Mike, the numbers don't match up.
No, I
What
know
Sandy
that,
gave
you're
us
right.
here and with
Yeah.
that number that was given us to by Bob, those don't quite add up. I mean, I'm no accounting wizard like some people in the room, but I mean, it's just.
The only people that ever get ahead of you are the people you trust. And the people that are trying to get ahead of you are experts at figuring out how to get you to trust them.
True that.
I like to believe that there is no trust problem, but I've seen, heard too much from people that have been involved for a lot longer than I have.
So now my question is, was the numbers I was given wrong? The numbers that Sandy has is right? Or was that just a bunch of numbers he threw out to say? I'm just curious.
that's why I think the Attorney General should be.
Well, I think that should come from our county attorney suggesting that. I mean, she could look at that. Because Susan's getting involved.
Right. And I hope that transpires.
What transpires?
That the Attorney General gets involved. I'll guarantee you that Bob will get really cooperative with you guys. If
Well,
that happens.
We've got we got an evaluation that we're supposed to.
Thank you.
I haven't filled by now yet, but an evaluation of Bob's performance.
Don't miss that chance.
And that's the only thing that's really delayed some of this. See how many people are, in theory, it's supposed to be an anonymous one, but then there's still employees that are afraid to fill it out because they figure that somehow Bob's gonna know.
Just by the scenarios.
And so that's Chris, several of the people over there, employees in Charter County have expressed their concerns, I guess, I went to Chris.
But isn't there law that protects them?
Well, I mean, if he does try and use it against them now at this point, when it was said that it was supposed to be.
I mean, yeah, you can't. Whistleblower law or whatever.
Well, there's whistleblower laws that are out there now. Congress has passed those.
Yes.
They actually pass them.
Yeah, they got some whistle, Grassley got behind it.
Oh, underneath the sweatshirt laying right next to you.
But there are parameters.
See him?
It's always gotta be a but. But there are
Oh,
parameters.
I'm sorry. Well, I just throw them underneath the sweatshirt on the seat. All right. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
See you later.
Yep. Have a nice day.
Oh, I will today, and then tomorrow. Not so much.
Oh, I tell you what, I'm so sick and tired of blowing snow.
I Actually, I'm kind of looking forward to not using the lawnmower till August.
Yeah, yeah. I had to go get the blower and blow myself out late, early evening Thursday or Saturday night, because my wife wouldn't have been able to get out for an ambulance call. And I got to go to blew right back in again, and I got to do it all again on Sunday afternoon.
Well, this time of year, you don't plan for that much snow over and over again.
We
So
talked about
you don't want to damage the grass. You're not going that far with it. I had to come in with around all my different places I push with a backhoe loader just to get it picked up and farther back.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Well, the only complaint that I have is I went to work Monday and they didn't get 360 at the one down to the radio station. All we had were tracks that two of the guys in their trucks had made. Well, Carl got stuck, I got stuck.
Yeah.
The sheriff's officer had to come push us both out. And then all of a sudden the tractor shows up at 10 o'clock in the morning. We're there at 5 in the morning, so it's about 5 hours too little too late. Then you get there and you can't find the station because it's buried. It's so down deep in the ground anyways.
There's no place to push it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a pretty small lot.
I've always wanted to just take a plow and just bury up the front of the house right there, just just for the fun of it.
I could sell you a snow groomer, and that would push it anywhere you want. We're gonna be selling some.
I might just take you up on that just for the fun and giggles of, let's get another foot of snow and see where we can toss this.
Oh, this is getting weird. It's just.
We got another foot coming tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, I know it. That's what they say.
We got another foot. 13 inches is the last model.
I know we got at least 13, 14 inches this last one. We got more snow on the ground right now than we've had all year.
It's almost over.
Yeah, next week we're in the 70s, so that's the good news.
For a little bit.
Yeah, until we get our May 2nd blizzard.
Exactly.
Yeah, we had that a couple of years ago.
Was that 5 years ago we had that?
Yeah, it'd be about that, somewhere in there.
When we first moved here? Yeah. Oh, well. Enjoy the snow, guys.
Yeah.
I worry about these late, wet, heavy snow, like flat roof at the school, so it can last, But then the wind comes up and blows it off, so.
Yeah.
First year I lived in Forest City, it started in June.
My uncle told me in 1936 it froze every year, every month.
Those freezing temperatures every month.
Every month it froze. There was no
36 was a cold year.
alfalfa and he said, I almost killed my horses in April. He said they were so skinny, but he got them back, he said. And there was no government to bail them out.
Somehow they survived it too,
And
didn't
they
they?
survived.
How could that be?
So I heard on the commodity reports yesterday that the government's saying they'll if they have the tariffs that affect the farmers, they'll make it up to a reimbursement process for the law.
All over this,
But I don't know if it's clear cut like that. Because now they're trying to do something through EPA to make E15 mandatory year-round. Right now it's not mandatory in the summer months you're talking about. That might be part of it.
just trying to keep the commodity prices up.
Yep.
Well, there's people that are squealing about that too. Unfortunately, there's not enough ethanol out there to replace fossil fuels. But like I tell people, I'd much rather pay a little extra for my gasoline and have ethanol in it than and I've never seen a farmer with a seed corn hat on yet fly a plane into buildings. Mark Johnson get hurt? I heard he turned the Oshkosh on his top.
So glad it's him and not one of the other guys.
Yeah,
Those things are kind of tippy.
it's top heavy. I watched it, is that the same one that they bought back in the 80s?
I don't know if it's the same one. I know it's older though.
I remember when we were going out to do our chores, we were following that Oshkosh, and I got just south of Buffalo on the Mill Road. He'd already gone through once, and then he hit, it'd been freezing rain too, so the blacktop was icy, and he hit that snow with one side, and it spun that thing around. He did 2 complete 360s down the blacktop, and then another 180, and he ended up facing the opposite direction he started out. I believe it was, it was very chilly, you know, I think there's 2 guys in it.
You gotta have 2 guys, that's the trouble with it.
And I remember some wide eyes when we went by. All they had was one tire kind of off in the ditch a little bit, but I think that thing was able to drive out there.
You ever hear this kind of stuff? Mark Crow got hit.
Yeah, I heard.
I didn't know what the deal was on that.
He was stopped
South of Thompson.
south of Thompson, and a guy was coming in a semi. Actually hit him at a pretty good rate of speed, I guess. He had all his lights on. It was visibility wasn't poor or anything. I would assume that the truck driver was being distracted by something, and he went off into the ditch and gave him a glancing blow as he went into the ditch. The truck driver got hit. And did Mark have a little trouble with the Oshkosh? Have you heard that?
Mark.
Johnson. I heard somebody tipped it over.
Yeah.
Oh, that thing's still on. Which nobody's criticizing. Though that instance, I'm just wondering if he was okay. I heard it ended up on his top.
It's an older piece of equipment with short wheels. Do weird things with a wing on it. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm amazed what some of these hard snow things do in my hand up when I hit things.
I've hit the snow with the tractor and the loader with just like the right hand side of the loader and spun myself around to the, when it's icy.
Replacing the Oshkosh.
Well,
It's over here.
that's what we need.
It's just an emergency one.
That's probably why he was running, just to kind of catch up.
There'll be an extra maintainer now. Because they sold the spare ones, right? So this new maintainer in theory will kind of replace they don't use the Oshkosh that often, do they?
Mm-hmm.
The one I used to run in Colorado was a Mercedes Unimog. God, that was fun. Didn't go real fast, but that thing was just an handle. Real short wheelbase.
Yeah.
Big 24 and a half inch tires. After a bit and see how he came out.
Yeah. I guess I would have tried to win.
Yeah, sorry about
Give
that.
him extra.
He caught me when I was plowing snow at the church and forgot about it until I got home. It was almost 9 o'clock. subs for the bus.
Yeah, no, that would have been a short notice for the sub, but, Pat Conroy is back after his heart attack, so, good, or whatever he had. Uh, and There's not much going on, because all the track meets and stuff are canceled. It's harder to get a sub for the afternoon, because when you've got people
Hey,
driving
Jim.
the track and people driving to.
Is Doug around? Yeah. Oh, hold on, hey? Just tell him I'll be there, I'll be at your place at 11. Yep. Oh, okay. Oh, boy. Okay. Okay. Okay, real good. Yep, thanks.
I'll make a motion to approve the payroll claims.
I'll second it.
You got that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are tentatively adjourned.